Hey everybody, this is Yanni Collins and you're watching us living live from Wow Summit, Hong Kong. I'm joined today by Dr. Ken Ip, who is the chairman of Asia at MarTech Society. So Dr. Ken, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, no, thank you for having me.
How are you enjoying Wow Summit thus far?
Oh, I think it's awesome. The crowd's great and yeah, there's a lot of buzz going on. Happy to be here.
So tell me about your background and a little bit about Asia MarTech Society for those who do not know.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Dr. Ken Ip. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Web3. That's why I'm here today. In particular, I have a special interest in what I like to call the new ABCD in business. So which are AI, blockchain, cloud, and data. So currently I wear a number of different hats. For example, I'm an associate professor in business technologies, as well as the chairman of the Asia MarTech Society. And on a corporate level, I sit on a couple of boards in several organizations, including 2 universities. And I'm also currently the strategic advisor for Neverland, which is a Web3-focused VC firm. And I guess on a personal level, I enjoy reading and writing a lot and have published 2 books called Life Hacks and Growth Hacks. And on an academic level, I'm currently a research professor specializing in research in the Web3 space, including the Metaverse. So maybe perhaps I can briefly touch on one of my current research, which is about the Metaverse. Well, to me, the concept of Metaverse is not something new, by the way. It's practically just a virtual world with things and people. And I'm sure we've all had experience with it in the past, especially through online gaming. But the real question I'm trying to address here is, as a virtual world, just how far and how real can we make this virtual world become to a point where one day, someone like you and I could achieve immortality, to live forever. If you think about it, this is actually theoretically possible. So imagine, if we upload all of our memories and cognitive functions and store it to a cloud database, and then you connect it to a metaverse or any types of virtual world. And providing you have a limited supply of data and storage, right? And providing money is not an issue. So theoretically, we can all live forever.
That sounds like a Black Mirror episode you just described to us there.
Yeah, perhaps, yes.
I want to get into your interesting panel a while ago. You spoke about the decentralization of the metaverse, right? Like, would you say, and briefly before we started this conversation, you stated that biggest misconception about the metaverse that it is decentralized when it's really not. So kindly expound on that.
Well, yes, I think a lot of people thought that the metaverse is truly decentralized. It's actually not. It's getting there, but currently it's pretty much platform dominated, which means it's dominated by a few online platforms, which are mostly online games. But I think we still got a long way to go to being fully decentralized. And also, I think a fully fledged metaverse or making it mainstream, it's years or if not decades away. I think mainly for 2 reasons. There's the infrastructure and the hardware. So for example, currently there are a number of technical hurdles we need to overcome, starting with the fact that we don't have an existing online infrastructure that could sustain millions or billions or trillions of people going on to the metaverse at the same time. So because having an interrupted and reliable internet connection is the key building block to a metaverse. So because having like a glitchy virtual world is not what the metaverse is, promised for. So I think that's like hurdle number 1. I think hurdle number 2, it's about the hardware. I'm not sure any one of you or in the audience have tried wearing the AR and VR goggles. Right now, they're dominated by kind of 2 players. So there's a Oculus and HoloLens. And if you put them on, right, the experience you get, right, it's nothing like what someone like Mark Zuckerberg in Facebook has kind of shown in his promo video. It's far from it. And also probably due to my age, whenever I put these goggles on, I get dizzy after a few minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So meaning you cannot be wearing these goggles for a very long time.
That is so
true. So these are some of the hurdles I currently think are experiencing.
And what kind of like new business models do you think that will emerge as the metaverse continues to develop and advance?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, right, the fundamental idea of a metaverse is to provide a a virtual world that allows people to interact without being in physical proximity. And this is made possible with the latest, Web3 technologies, blockchain or VR and AR, as I mentioned. And it's through the governance of cryptocurrency as the main kind of market or economy. I think broadly speaking, there are, I think, 5 different domains that Metaverse is currently being applied. So initially, it was through online gaming, right? Allowing multiple players to interact at a large scale. And then we had COVID a few years ago. So it's been applied into workplace or workplace interaction. And similarly in education, where a lot of the schools and classes were done on Zoom or online platforms, right? And last but not least, there's marketplaces, where people are now able to buy and sell digital assets online. That's where things like NFT and crypto and blockchain comes into place. And then lastly, there are also events. For me as a marketer, I think events are probably the most useful in the case with the Metaverse, because it has the ability to kind of either recreate an experience or at a more advanced level to reinvent an experience that's not possible, like in the real world. So let me give you an example. During COVID, one of the hardest hit kind of business or in the event industry, music concerts. But thanks to Metaverse, these concerts in Metaverse are making artists all around the world, millions and billions of dollars. Starting from there's a Marshmallow concert that took place during the early stages of when COVID first hit the United States. So it was a virtual event that was hosted in a very popular online platform called Fortnite, and it was a massive success, and it was first of its kind at the time. And around, if I recall correctly, over 11 million people live streamed the event, and over 16 million people watched it on YouTube. And that was only the beginning. And I think a year after, there's a very famous artist called Travis Scott also venture into this notion of virtual concerts in the Metaverse. And Travis Scott has proved that these type of virtual concerts can be very, very profitable. I mean, just like real life concerts, there are lots of merchandise to be sold, lots of it. You got postcards, T-shirts, phone case, I mean, you name it. But with the help of Web3 technologies like NFT, right? A lot of these merchandise can now be sold as digital assets, also in limited editions. And not just merchandises. The users and players can also buy different, skins or special dance moves in the game. So all that adds up, right? Travis Scott grossed about $20 million through this type of virtual event. And just to give you, it's a huge number, by the way, comparing to a year ago, right? His world tour only grossed $50 million. So $20 million in one single concert on a virtual space. That's a lot of money. And when we're talking about events, right? It's not only limited to music concerts. So even weddings can be done on Metaverse. So about 6 months ago, I attended the wedding of one of my family friends, who apparently hosted one of the very first Metaverse wedding on Sandbox. So it was basically a hybrid event. So the wedding took place at a historic mansion in Singapore, but as well as hosting it on the Sandbox Metaverse.
How much did it cost them?
I didn't ask, but what's really exciting is that the guests no longer need to come in their physical form or wearing typical clothing. You can now come in all forms and sizes, like robots and what have you. And also with the help of NFTs, so the host can now distribute the invites and gifts in the form of token-gated utilities. So that all makes the wedding experience much more enhanced and enriched.
Very interesting, especially the wedding that's held in Metaverse. I don't know how to feel about that, but you mentioned that the Metaverse, this is where kind of like the interesting gains are looking forward. How can one dive into the world of the Metaverse and hop into this train of like where they could acquire the potential benefits of it?
Well, I think in terms of the metaverse, right, there are two elements that businesses and brands need to consider before they embark on this journey. Starting with the fact that unlike everything we come to understand in this world, right, the metaverse is not owned by any company or any government or any particular platform, but rather by all the users. So in other words, no single entity controls the metaverse. So meaning all the users or the citizens of the metaverse are expected to have control over their digital assets, including all their contents and the privacy data. So in order to be successful, brands and businesses need to encourage the users to build contents with them. Not only building contents, but you got to make content building easy, fun, and rewarding. Not just emotionally, but also financially. So they can monetize the time and effort they put in. So in other words, to be successful in the metaverse, unlike the traditional market where companies will be looking to maximize their own profit, but in the case of metaverse, right, the users are equally very important stakeholders because their success will be correlated with yours.
Definitely. Well, Dr. Ken, thank you so much for the insightful points. And there's so many interesting takeaways from this conversation. So pleasure to have you here. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yeah, thank you for having me.